Welcome, everybody. We're here for the next episode of May I Interrupt? My name is Craig Norman, and I'm a lucky guy to be a host of this podcast, along with Dr. Jason Jedlicka, who's really the star of the show. I just get to introduce him for the first time.
Craig, you keep getting sweeter every episode. I don't know what to say. I'm kind of blown away right now.
I'm just saying what I feel, man.
Feeling the love. Hey.
But we know that we're not really the stars of this. Right?
Absolutely not.
And the star of tonight's episode is Dr. Mile Brujic. Mile, welcome.
How you doing, buddy? Thanks, Craig. Thanks for having me.
This is huge for us.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize we had to go through so many agents and the legal stuff and all of this paperwork just for this.
It's a learning process, Craig.
I mean, when you're big time, I know it's tough, but
it is what it is.
Our people got it done with your people. We're
Fantastic. Okay. Fantastic. Craig, you're the only guy that has a direct line to me.
Yes.
There you have
Excellent.
It. Nice. VIP. Same with you, Dr. Jedlicka.
Good having you.
Thank you.
For those of you who are listening to this and not watching it, you cannot see the jacket that Dr. Brujic is wearing. I love this. That is sweet. I got to go look for that.
It is very sweet.
Appreciate it. I get my fashion sense from you two.
Not at all.
Yeah. Luckily, people are listening, not watching.
Correct.
Anyway, so, Mile, tell us a little bit about your history into optometry and therefore the contact lens field.
Yeah, so it was 2002 when I graduated from optometry school, and specialty lenses in particular were a passion of mine right from the get-go. And part of the reason was it was so closely coupled at the time to anterior segment disease, and it was really one of those places where I felt that optometry could actually own the whole disease entity from start to finish. So when you're in school, there's a lot of things that you're looking and you're seeing in the retina, and you kind of get into this like almost feeling of you're trying to find something else that your classmates didn't find, and you come back to class and you tell them about this rare retinal condition that you saw. And I always used to ask my classmates, oh, well, what did you do when you saw it? I had to refer it.
Yeah.
So they couldn't manage it.
Right.
But with anterior segment disease, specifically specialty lenses, we can take this thing now from start to finish. So we own this whole process. And that's actually part of the thing that I love about the specialty lens anterior segment world. This is really our place to truly own if we want to. And then from 2002 on, I've really created a specialty lens practice within an optometric practice. We've been very aggressive at incorporating technologies that help support that. We try as best as we possibly can, just like everybody does, to stay on top of innovations. We've been involved in some of the new innovation, and it's just led to patients that have not only wanted to come to us, but also referred their friends and family. And in addition to that, we are, for the last 5 years in particular, we're just receiving a lot of referrals from colleagues, optometric and ophthalmological colleagues, for some of the specialty services that we offer.
So, Mile, so your practice is multi-practitioner.
Yep.
Office or offices?
Offices. So we have 4 locations, 7 doctors total.
Yeah. Do you move around, or do you stick in one place? Or?
So I spend most of my time in our Bowling Green location. We spend about one day every other week in our Lima office. So I'm usually at one office primarily, and I jump to another location. We have other doctors at the other offices.
And are the other parts of the group, folks in the group, any of them into specialty lenses as well?
Yes, and they're starting to get more so into it because patients will leach over into other schedules as well too. We also have a younger practitioner that started with us as well too, where this is a passion of his. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves and develops on his schedule as well.
I think it's interesting when one doctor embraces specialty lenses and you start to see the impact on your practice, pretty soon other members within the group need to, because the demand is there. Patients just seem to be drawn to that level of care with contact lenses.
Well, the other great thing too, Jay, is that we're starting to try and formulate ways to really find out what everybody's passion is and give them the opportunity to practice that passion. So if I have somebody in my office that's passionate about retina, I prefer to send them my AMD patients as opposed to manage those. And they've started to do that with me as well too, with some of the specialty lens and dry eye care.
Yeah, I think that that's the ophthalmology model has always been like that. And I think optometry, as we embrace that, let inter-referrals within your group, people can go deeper into a specialty and provide a higher level of care than if everyone's trying to do everything equally well.
Well, Jason, you're hands on the ground or feet on the floor with the students. So you're training the next generation of optometry. And what I'm seeing is a really unique perspective coming through with younger clinicians, and that is that they're becoming much more in tune with the specialties and how to really position themselves with the passions that they have in optometry. 22 years ago, when I graduated optometry school, it was a little bit different. We could practice specialties, but it was much more difficult to really embrace those, partially because of the technology that we have access to, and part of that was because we just didn't really know as much as we do today. Now, if you want to go head first into something, you can really do that within the optometric space, and specialty lenses is one of those things. And I find anyways, it's difficult to dabble in specialty lenses. It can be one of the most frustrating things on a practitioner schedule or one of the most rewarding things. And I've created it so that it's one of the most rewarding things. I look at my schedule and I check mark those specialty lens patients and I enjoy seeing them.
I think another specialty that really lends itself well to optometry and is maybe a reason why the new graduates see more opportunities. There just are more specialties, but dry eye is another one that really is an optometric area of interest and capability. And do you guys do quite a bit with dry eye, I assume too? Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, there is a massive gap, and optometry has really the opportunity to fill that gap, which is for me just very, very cool and very encouraging. You know that Dr. Kading and I, we actually have a program called SWOS, Student Workshop of the Ocular Surface, where we work with the students to say, hey, this is how this looks like outside of the academia walls, and it's, as you're well aware, Jay, it's just a great supplement to what you guys are doing in the clinics with the students already. So it just shows them that perspective on what that could look like. And I'll tell you too, it's important because the technologies are becoming so intricate that you really have to be well defined in how they all work and what patients they'll work best for, because otherwise you're just looking at a plate full of stuff that you don't really know what to use and when to use it.
Yeah.
There's such a natural crossover too between dry eye and specialty lens, in particular scleral lens use as one of the therapies to be able to manage the dry eye. So I think that's a natural as well.
It is, and Craig, once you start like really doing a deep dive into dry eye management, you start to oftentimes initially see the mild to moderate cases, and then what happens is that as that dry eye practice starts to grow, you start to see where the gaps are, and you start to want to know how to fill those gaps. And one of the most valuable tools we have for corneal preservation for some of these very severe dry eye patients is a scleral shell. I mean, that is ultimately one of the ways we're preserving that individual's cornea's sight and also giving them functionality as well too.
So you always have been involved in other things, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how you manage them all, frankly, except that you actually fell in love with the Uber process before anybody else I knew, but the driver was your dad. So he could sit in the back seat. He would sit in the back seat going from where he's going to like Ohio State,
this is true.
or up to MCO or whatever, in the back seat working while dad is driving.
Nice.
Really cool. Right?
So, Craig, a few things about that are awesome. One is, so my dad had recently retired, and he loves to see stuff. And I said, well, here's a speaking engagement that I have that's 4 hours away. It doesn't make sense for me to get on a plane, but I have a ton of work that I need to get done. I need to be in front of a computer for. Do you want to drive me? And it's almost correct. I was actually sitting in the front seat with my dad.
Right, but the story's better with you in the back.
Better in the back. It would even be better if he was wearing a cab he had. But I got to spend a massive amount of time with my father that I never did in a busy schedule.
Yeah, and as an adult too, because it's different.
It's totally different, and it's just, we used to get back from these trips, and we used to kind of say, can you believe we just saw that? And we just saw this, and you experienced this? My best story ever. So I have a speaking engagement in Chicago. We're driving to Chicago. It's a 4-hour drive. We're driving back that same night. When my father gets back, he has 2x4s sticking out of the back of the car. I said, "What'd you do?" He said, "I couldn't turn up the sale that they had at Home Depot." So he literally needed 2x4s. He loaded them up in the car.
So he was shopping while you were working.
He was shopping while I was working. That's exactly right.
What a cool thing, though. I mean, that's just something that, to have that opportunity. And I don't have that chance with my father, but maybe I can have that with a child.
Right.
Here's my retirement job is to drive my kids around. So.
Yeah.
It doesn't pay very well, though. You have to be fully transparent with that.
You have to be paid in experiences and personal touch. Right. So.
Sometimes that's just as valuable.
Well, my sense is somebody's getting paid by the mile.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
That's a correct assumption, Craig. Let's divert. And Father, if you're listening, that was just a joke what Craig just said.
For sure. Hey, so what are you and Katie got going these days, right? Are you guys still doing the
so
optometric insights still alive and well? Or?
So mine and Dave's history is so interesting because we were two young guys in the industry at the exact same time doing things on the East and West Coast very similarly, and we were actually joined by an executive at a dinner, and they just said, "You guys need to meet." And we met, and we just started coordinating efforts on so many things, and one of those things, and the first one that's still in existence, is Optometric Insights. That's a company that we created, and we started it with the intent of career coaching for optometry students. So we share with them the things that we wish we knew when we were in their shoes to help them be successful faster outside of school. About a decade ago, and this is, I hate to say what I'm going to say right now, but this was Dr. Kading's idea. He said, "We should start a workshop in the schools for dry eye." I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "A workshop in the schools for dry eye." And I said, "Dave, I don't know if that's really going to work." And he kind of convinced me, and he repeated the idea. I said, let's try some, let's see how it goes, let's see what happens. So we actually ended up doing this, and 10 years later, we're still doing it. We're doing it at most of the schools and colleges of optometry. Yeah, so it's just been a really, really interesting journey. We also, too, at the end of last year, we published our first book. It's Optometric Insights Student Handbook. So it literally goes from year 1 to year 4. Kind of gives them guidance on what they should be thinking about from a professional development perspective, and what they should be thinking about doing when they're talking, when they're going through their didactic stuff, and preparing themselves for what I'm going to refer to sometimes as the cruel, harsh world. I've seen people who have graduated from the same school, same time. One practitioner has this unbelievably proactive practice. Second practitioner hates what they're doing. And you wonder, what is the difference between these two doctors? And it's the preparation that they made before they graduated, and also the choices that they made after graduation.
That's fantastic. And then, so what about the scleral lens teaching that you've been involved in? I mean, you would have a couple of these events per year.
So this is actually another passion project. So Jeff Cincino, who most of you will know, he's passionate about scleral lenses. And it was actually at this meeting 7 years ago when we approached an executive from a large company, and we said, "We have this idea. Well, we want to start a workshop. And this workshop, what we want to do is, we want it to be 2 days. We want clinicians to get scleral lenses on eyes. We want to be able to guide them on what they're doing right and wrong and how to really do this process efficiently. We're going to show them everything on how to do it with the OCT. We're going to teach them the process. We're going to go through the intricacies of billing and coding. And the next day, we're going to actually have you fit 3 patients. And we want it all done in an office, and it's going to be in an office so the practitioner feels like they're really in their own space.
And the student to instructor ratio is really small.
So we usually have about 9 attendees, and we have 3 instructors. So it's very, very hands-on. And I mean, everything is very, very active process. So we've been doing this now for 7 years, and we actually do it at Jeff's office in Nashville. And Nashville's great, it's a destination city, but the process that Jeff's put together in his office is outstanding. he exclusively fits specialty lenses in his office at this point, and the process that he has is absolutely fantastic. So we both come from very different backgrounds. I came from a private practice where I built up my specialty lenses. Jeff started at Vanderbilt, where he had that base, and then he went into the private sector. So, and every attendee is either my background, his background, or a combination of the two. So we're very relatable to every attendee that's there. So it's been really, really interesting.
Yeah, you know, that it's such a kickstart, right, for people that are on the fence.
Yes.
And you get that supported in some way by industry, right?
Of course. And I'll tell you, that's the best thing for the practitioner is there's no cost to the practitioner because of the gracious support that industry has.
Yeah.
The partners, I mean, I'm looking out here at this, and it's amazing to see this partnership that exists with eye care and the companies that actually produce the technologies that we're using on a daily basis. So again, we've built up these just beautiful relationships with the companies that create these lenses, and in doing so, we've had the ability to create this for practitioners at no cost other than getting themselves to Nashville for the experience.
But a lot of that is you.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the trust that they see, the results they get when they get behind you, and that speaks to effectiveness. I know
it's nice to say, Jason.
Well, but I obviously we've had the dry workshop at IU a few times, and I can remember being part of that, and the students are so engaged. So this is not just some program, and the students are forced to go through it. It's put together in such a way that they love when it happens, and so this is about the quality that you guys do when you do these programs.
We really do put our blood, sweat, and tears into everything that we do. Not only in preparation for it, but also too when we're there on site with either the students or the clinicians. And again, they are truly passion projects of ours that we've just really at this point put a lot of efforts into. And I think what it's reaping is just practitioners that are developing greater passions for these specialties, which I think at the end of the day, the bottom line at the end of all of this, it's going to mean better care for the patients that are in their chairs. And I think that in and of itself is just an awesome goal. It's part of the reason why whenever there's new research, I love GSLS is the only conference that even if I'm not speaking here, I have professional commitments here, I've committed to come to because this is where I come from. What's the newest, latest, greatest in the specialty lens space. So when we share openly like this, I think it just elevates everybody.
Like my motto always for GSLS was get connected, stay connected, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have to be in front of the podium, to really enjoy yourself at a meeting, because everybody who is the players are all here, at least for a day or two.
So right, Craig. And to have access to the expertise. I mean, it's literally a few steps away from you wherever you are. And there's just the level of creativity, the level of thought process, the level of what's going to be the next big thing that's occurring at this meeting is tangible. Like you can physically feel it when you're here. And that's energizing when you're part of this.
It's a great place
what is that big thing going to be?
That's the question. Well, I think another great part of this meeting is it pushes you. Because you get around other people who are achieving great things, and you hear what they're doing, and it just motivates you to say, I want to do even more. And I think that helps to have that inspiration. This is clearly one of those meetings where you leave inspired to do studies, to do development, to get involved. And I think that's it. It's
I think
really
looking around this year and last year, what's interesting to me is how we talk a lot about trying to simplify the process for fitting scleral lenses, right? I mean, that's kind of the mantra for everybody. But meanwhile, it's becoming so sophisticated at exactly the same time. I mean, so sophisticated that I can't imagine, 10, 12 years ago when we first started talking about scleros here, really the biggest battle was, here's how you put this on your finger, right? This is a suction device to hold this on. What do you fill it with?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I will tell you that, so tomorrow in my lecture, I'm talking about the health implications of scleral lenses and how we're using advanced technology, specifically OCT, to monitor that health. And we can monitor these things at a level of accuracy that we've never been able to. And now, because of that, we as clinicians have an additional responsibility to do so and to do that.
Right.
Saying all of that, it's very, very difficult to simplify a process, like you said, that's very sophisticated to do. And I think we all need to make sure that we're very aware that as we try and simplify things with protocols, we need to understand the intricacies that exist in understanding those protocols and figuring out how they fit in our practices. Because ultimately, that's what's going to make the whole process successful on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday when you walk back into your office.
Like, I think for instruments that are helping in lens design, topographers, tomographers, whatever they are, and the lens design programs, to me it always appeared to be the ideal situation is to have the easy button you hit first, right? Because not every expert wants to build it from the ground every time.
Right.
And then after watching what's actually happening with the easy button, then you can roll your sleeves up, dig deeper into the software design, and really every meridian or quadrant or whatever, all the way out from the center to the periphery, you can customize. And the manufacturers there today to make it all happen.
I'll tell you one of the things that I've been most intrigued with, and I'm a big process guy. Whenever I look at anything on this floor, and when I'm thinking, all right, is this something that fits in my practice? I'm always thinking about, first, is it going to meet an unmet need for patient care?
Yeah.
If it is, then it has me interested. But the second thing that's just as important is, where's it going to fit into that process? And we have a tight process in my practice when somebody comes in for a specialty lens fit, and it's identical every single time. And where my expertise comes in is interpreting the scans, interpreting what I'm seeing at the slit lamp, interpreting what I'm seeing from my higher order aberration measurements, and seeing how we can now optimize everything that we're seeing with the diagnostic lens or the lens that we've ordered for the patient to optimize every single piece of that fit.
Yeah.
And as we do that, as we become more, I think the way that I would describe it is process oriented as a profession in terms of how we're doing things, the better and deeper we're going to be able to get with all of these technologies.
Yeah. So Mile, as we start to wrap this up for tonight, we can't let you go without talking about music, right?
Yeah, I love it.
I know. So you still working with a band? And,
Oh yeah, yeah. So that's a passion project of mine. So I've been playing guitar since I was in high school. So I have, I think, 14 guitars now, and
the way you have them on your wall too as a backdrop's pretty cool.
that is so. I can't take credit for that. I wanted to hang them on my wall. My wife put the wood slats up there, like she got that all set up. And I was gonna, so I'm a very scientific guy, so when I was gonna hang the guitars, I was gonna hang them all in a row.
Right.
She said, no, we gotta make this cool. So she kind of
She brought some style.
Yeah.
Oh, like,
Yeah. Well, it looks
such
like you're
style.
walking into a guitar shop, right? The way they're promoting it.
Big time,
Yeah.
big time. But yeah, so I've always loved every aspect of music. I've loved that, and we've all been part of this, where you hear a song and it just takes you back to a moment in time. And there's very few things in life that have that level of emotional connection. And I think I'm a passionate, emotional guy, so I think that's always been something that's connected me with music. And having the ability to do that with somebody is
I went for a walk yesterday and walked into the Planet Hollywood. And the moment I walked in the door, Sympathy for the Devil came.
Oh.
And immediately
Awesome.
I was transformed
Awesome.
back to the name and the time and the place when I first heard it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Just in case you're wondering, yes, that is on our band's playlist.
Okay.
Perfect. So it's there, it's on there.
Cool. Jason, any last questions?
I mean, I keep thinking about how with your dry workshops, with the scleral, with everything you do, you really are a visionary. Everything you've done seems like, you're seeing things. I think about the dry workshop when you started it, right when this whole dry explosion, the timing. What's next for you guys in terms of bringing education to a segment of the optometric world?
But I think 2024 for Mile Brujic / Dave Kading / Jeff Cincino / Optometric Insights / Premier Vision Group is taking what we're doing and fine-tuning all of it and figuring out what the next leap is going to be in 2025. I will tell you that I see two big things in the eye care space personally. One is myopia progression management. I think we're just scratching the surface on this whole thing. I think that's going to be a big push, and I think too, photobiomodulation is going to be a big topic, not only in dry eye, but myopia, AMD. There's going to be a lot of facets of eye care that are going to start looking at light very differently. And although we consider ourselves to be specialists in light, we know very little about it.
Yeah.
And I think with the research that's coming out, that's going to change quite a bit this next year to 2 years.
That is interesting because that is something which is not on most of our radars, but I can see 10 years from now, it's become something just like dry eye and myopia management has become to us now. I can see that becoming a big thing,
Yeah. So Mile, we really appreciate you coming. And we want to give you one of the most prized possessions anywhere on this floor, which is the May I Interrupt mousepad. It's something you'll constantly remember.
You can't believe how honored I am to receive
but
that.
there's more.
Oh boy.
There's more for the golfer in you. We have our special May I Interrupt Oculus golf balls as well.
Guaranteed to stay in the fairway.
Absolutely.
Generally, those three takes care of you and two of your buddies forever. You'll never lose one. Right down the middle every
Right down the middle.
I hope there's some truth to that, Craig.
So do I.
My game needs it.
Yeah, everybody's game needs it. May I Interrupt mousepad, my friend?
Guys, thank you.
Thank us.
you,
We're the
guys.
ones that are honored.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
you
you
guys.
for being.
Appreciate you
And
guys.
thank all you guys for actually spending a little time listening or watching this episode of May I Interrupt. Stay tuned for more. They're coming soon and becoming more interesting every time you get the chance to listen. Thank you.
Thanks.